everyone, and welcome to the RSN Week 8 Tailgate Show. My name is Andrew Mild, and joining me tonight is Matt Skura. Matt, we got some big games coming up our way.
Oh, yeah, a lot of conference implications here with this week, and there's going to be some good ones going on.
Yeah, we have 4 games going to be on the Region Sports Network tonight. One of them won't be Bowman Academy versus Tri-County, but we're looking like that's going to be a good game. But Crown Point is taking on Chesterton, and as you and I talked about, if Crown Point can get their win, continue their incredible regular season winning streak, they're going to at least have a share of the DAC regular season championship.
Yeah, they can lock that up tonight, and that'll be a really good game here. You got Chesterton with a very good ball control offense.
Yes.
Against, what we would say around here, an elite defense at Crown Point.
Yeah, you got Trevor Gibbs, the Indiana commit, leading that Crown Point defense, and then Chesterton balanced attack with Govea. Obviously, their running back, one of the best in the region, and Hunter Boyd, the transfer from Andrean, has been phenomenal for him.
Yeah, he's doing an incredible job, managing the game early on.
Yes.
And last week we saw him open it up a little bit, have some deep balls, and get a lot more people involved.
And then we'll have the Griffith Panthers, who are ranked number 6, taking on the Calumet Warriors. Griffith, they're ranked number 6. They're having another great season.
They are. Phil Mason's got the ship righted over there.
Yes, he does.
And, Griffith controls their own destiny. They got to beat Calumet, beat Wheeler next week, and they're conference champs. And I think that'll be the first time in a while that they've won a conference championship.
Yeah, and they dominated Gary Westside last week, 49-12, at 42 points by the half. But for Calumet, they're a respectable team in their own right. The only thing right now for the Warriors is their passing game isn't going. Their quarterback went down early, the transfer from Portage. But they're turning to a freshman in Jaden Campbell. He had a good first game against Whiting. Last week, only a 42.4 QBR. They're going to need him to step up if they want any chance of beating Griffith at home today.
Yeah, they need to, I guess you could say, diversify their offense a little bit.
Exactly.
Mix in the run and pass. They're a run-dominant team.
With Bryce Brandon, of course, you have to be.
Right, but if you can get a little play action going and, maybe hit a deep ball here and there, and they're going to put up some points.
And then the Hammond Central Wolves are 0-7. They're very much in danger of having their first winless season since becoming a high school. They're going to be taking on East Chicago. Fun fact, East Chicago's never beaten Hammond Central.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Hammond Central is 4-0 and beat them 61-16 last year. And after Davion Taylor left for Hammond Morton, I think this is going to be a little bit of a different result.
Yeah, I cursed the Hanover Central Wildcats last week when saying Homer's never beaten Hanover.
I guess it's my turn.
Yeah.
This is going to be a really big game. Hanover Central will be on the road taking on number 3 Andrean. Andrean, they lost their first game of the year against Maryville. They've been hot ever since.
Yeah, they got that offense rolling. Brady Ellis is doing an incredible job.
Yes.
Under center over there, and they got a few good running backs over there moving the ball, and they have a very well coached defense.
Always.
Over there.
That's something they always lay their head on, right? Over in Andreans, their defense always being phenomenal. But that's going to be a big game for Hanover Central. It's a team that's going through a bit of a change, a new era in head coaching, and they got to go on the road to Andrean, and Andrean's trying to set up a conference championship game next week against Lowell.
Oh yeah, definitely. They could, with this win here, they set themselves up for championship matchup against Lowell, winner take all there.
And then Lake Station versus Boone Grove, a Greater South Shore North Conference game. Lake Station lost a tough one last week, 58-20 against East Chicago.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me a little bit, but East Chicago is tough.
Yes.
They've had a few setbacks there, but they got a strong offense, great running back. But Lake Station has a nice 1-2 punch themselves, running the ball. I think they're the rushing for almost 300-something yards a game.
And then what's the fun part, too? I was doing a little bit of research on them. With them having a winning record and already clinched it, their first winning season since 1998.
Yeah, that's
something that's unheard of.
Yeah, it's an accomplishment. And, you get that next year, or you win a few sectional games. Now you get a few more kids coming out.
Exactly.
Get your numbers up, and then the ball rolls from there.
And for Boone Grove, they had a really close game against Whiting, and they're coming in at 3-3, but they ran for a lot of yards. Sal Montes, a sophomore, had 186 yards on 16 carries. He's an underrated running back, I would say.
Oh, definitely. And you know what? Seeing Boone Grove at the beginning of the year to now, they've improved leaps and bounds. They're starting to be more competitive, and they got a shot at possibly having a winning season this year too.
A game that will also be on the Region Sports Network tonight. It's the number 2 Maryville Pirates going up against the Lake Central Indians. And I got to say, I'm excited to watch this game because I've yet to see Michael Hill throw a pass this year.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one there. Lake Central had a little setback with their quarterback getting hurt, and so I mean, but they got an established quarterback in Cam Reddick coming back in and playing, but they were just getting things going with the sophomore quarterback Lalich, and he gets injured, and it looks like he might be out for the season.
Yeah, in LC, they've lost 4 in a row. They lost a Crown Point, which everyone does, but then they got upset against LaPorte. I would say LaPorte had won a conference game in 10 attempts. So LC, they're on the wrong side of a streak right now, but they have a chance to create some noise if they can beat the Maryville Pirates at home tonight. And that's going to be a tall task because Maryville's offense, explosive, is a really good way to describe it.
Yeah, they would probably be one of the top 5 in the definitely region, if not the state.
Well, Michael Hill's going to get some votes for the Indiana Player of the Year, no doubt. The way he's been flinging the football around the football field.
Exactly.
Michigan City, who's ranked number 7, will be taking on LaPorte. We will have that game, but that will be in audio only. I got to say, I've done 3 Michigan City games, and every time I watch him, Trent Hart gets better and better. The senior quarterback. Not only has he been throwing the ball really well, he's also been running the ball. He has had back-to-back weeks where he had over a 60-yard rushing touchdown.
They're a very dangerous offense there. They got that deep ball, deep threat.
Zaire McKinney is a monster.
Yes, deep threat with McKinney, and they got a nice little 1-2 punch with the running back and Hart himself being a dual threat quarterback.
Right. And next up will be the Morton Governors and Hobart Brickies. Those 2 teams are in the top 10 in Ennigenberg rankings. I'm expecting this to be a heavyweight fight.
Oh, yeah, it should be a shootout just like it was last year. Morton Governors got a very potent offense. Defense may be a little suspect there. Hobart needs to have that ball control offense and move the ball downfield and then not let Morton Governors strike quickly, make them drive to score.
And Hobart finally got a win that they most desperately needed. They lost back-to-back games to Indrain and Lowell, who are most likely going to win the conference championship. They beat Hanover Central 42-23, and Alex Tatum, their sophomore quarterback, he had over 260 yards total with 157 passing, 107 rushing. We have a dual threat quarterback like that. It's going to make things hard for Morton's defense, as you said, a little suspect.
Yeah. Hobart needs to keep that offensive ball rolling there, and you're playing a good Morton team, a good offense to prepare yourself for the playoffs coming up. You get to see speed, you get to see everything with that offense. Great running game, great passing game with only a freshman quarterback at that for Morton. So there's only great things to come from that offense.
The Lowell Red Devils, who are ranked number 4, they're going to be at home today against Munster. Munster got a shutout last week as they beat Highland 35-0. Lowell, on the other hand, the Red Devils are back, finally. They had a couple of rough years there, but they're 6-1. And if they get the win, they'll get to play for a conference championship next week.
Yeah, they are definitely back here. Running game is going wild.
Always.
They're putting up 40-some points a game. Ever since the Crown Point game, they've just been manhandling everybody they played. The Hobart game was a great game. I can't wait to see that one happen again in sectionals. Hopefully it's for a sectional championship. That'll be a knockdown.
I'm happy you brought up the fact that Lowell's only loss was Crown Point. Ever since then, during their 6-game winning streak, they've outscored opponents by 151 points. I would say that's pretty good.
Yes. They definitely have something going. They got all with the new coach and everything. There's a fire lit under those kids. It just takes a change of philosophy, and maybe it's not even so much a philosophy because when Kilmer was there, they were running the ball.
Right.
It just maybe got a little stale. And not that he's a bad coach or anything. He's a great coach. State championship rings, state championship appearances, but
it's been a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, breath of fresh air. Nice young coach. Get in there and get things fired up for them.
Yeah, and just change things up a little bit and see if you get different results. Next game up, Rensselaer Central versus River Forest. Rensselaer, They're 5-2, and they've had 2 blowout wins the last couple of weeks. They've outscored opponents 91-7. For River Forest at home, they're going to have to try and slow down Rensselaer's offense.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Rensselaer. They're coming not from out of, they're from
Right.
just on the outskirts of the region. So, during playoff times, we kind of adopt them as a region team, depending on how they do.
Right.
But, you know, they got something going on good down there, though. They've been a very successful program for many years.
And then for River Forest, as we said, their defense has struggled. In the last 4 games, they've allowed 30-plus points, allowing 32.9 points during this losing streak. If they can't slow down Rensselaer, it's going to be a long night for the Ingots.
Yeah, it'll be a very long night for them. They just need to, again, get the ball control offense, move methodically down the field, take some time. That'll kind of help alleviate the defensive problems.
Well, this is going to be a big game on the Region Sports Network tonight, too. Valparaiso is at Portage, 2 teams in the bottom of the DAC, which I got to say, Matt, I am shocked that I looked at Valparaiso's record and I saw only the 1 win, 1-6 going into week 8. I never would have guessed that for the Vikings.
I wouldn't have either. I figured at least 500, right around 500. At worst case scenario, 2 wins. But Maryville dominant for us. They played them very well, back and forth. They just kind of ran out of gas.
Yeah, scored 21-0 in the second half.
Crown Point had 7 interceptions. But I think Valpo needs to get back to the basics and run the ball well, then play action pass, and then go. Because I think in all 6 of their games, they've thrown 25 or more passes.
Yes.
And you're not going to win a whole lot of games doing that.
Yeah, Kellen Hosick currently coming in second in passing yards in the region, only behind Michael Hill of Maryville, as we were alluding to. For Portage, these last 3 years have been a struggle. Their record in the last 3 years, 4-23, and they're on the brink of having their second winless season in the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's a shame that you see Portage down these last 4 years because I wouldn't call them a traditional powerhouse, but when Portage is going good, when Valpo is going good, when Lowell and Hobart and all these schools are going well and having good programs and success, that just makes region football that much stronger. And the Indians are struggling. They look much better even though they haven't won a game.
Right.
I've watched them in a few games this year, and they play. The score doesn't show up, but they play Crown Point tough. They move the ball. They just shoot themselves in the foot with penalties, turnovers.
Well, it's also hard to implement the offense that they're going to. When you get Klimchak coming in and implementing the spread offense, something they're not accustomed to, you can see it sometimes they get a little bit confused and they're starting to learn that offense. But the quarterback, Cody Young, had 3 interceptions by the first half. So he was putting the ball in some dangerous spots that allowed Michigan City to capitalize on as the Wolves beat them 43-3 last week.
Yeah, and definitely Coach Kimchek's offense is different from Coach Richards' offense.
Yes,
because I've coached against Coach Richards, as a defensive backs coach over at Griffith, and his offense is very tough to defend and ball slinging everywhere, people pulling, quarterbacks running one way, running backs going, a lot of misdirection, a lot of throwing the ball all over the place. Now you're probably at a spread option offense with Coach Klimczak,
right.
And it's a big adjustment, and being thrown into that new style of offense so late into the summer too.
Yeah, because the job change didn't happen until May.
Yeah, it's tough to put all that stuff in and be effective.
I'll also say the last time Valpo started off a season 1-6, you have to go back to 2014. Their next win was Portage. We have the West Side Cougars versus Bishop Knoll, and I'll say it, both these teams need wins in a really bad way right now.
Yeah. Knoll needs some, get on track, get a couple wins here going into the playoffs. Same thing with West Side. I think West Side's a 4A school now.
I believe you're correct on that.
But they're running into a tough sectional because they're in a sectional with Lowell and Hobart and
New Prairie. You listed the 2 teams I would say are favorites to win that sectional going into the postseason, which is 2 weeks away. Next week's going to be the last week of the regular season.
You never want to, only 6 teams end their season with a win.
Exactly.
But you always want to go out on a high note. If you can win 2 out of your last 3, if you can win 3 out of your last 4, or something like that, it builds for the next year. You feel for the seniors, but you're building for the next year.
Well, Gary Westside will be coming in on a 4-game losing streak. Bishop Knoll has lost 4 of their last 5. Number 5, Wheeler Bearcats. What a win they had last week against Calumet. They're going on the road against Whiting, and I expect this game to be a bloodbath. As Wheeler, a really good run game, and Whiting has struggled this year.
Yeah, you see flashes with Whiting, but they just a lot of it's just they get outmanned.
Yes.
You got everybody's bigger than they are in that conference, except for maybe Bishop Knoll. Lake Station might be about the same size as far as players on the roster go. But yeah, the Wheeler Bearcats with their young backfield, I believe both of them are sophomores, or one's a sophomore, one's a junior.
Yes. Well, they're led by Levi Murray, who is a sophomore, and he's coming off a 238-yard performance last week against Calumet and had the hat trick, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and then you have had it here somewhere, but that's all right. They're both young running backs. A freshman and a sophomore. I'm sorry.
Oh, wow.
Andrew, I can't. Bizen,
okay.
Bizen, yeah, he's a freshman, and then Levi Murray's a sophomore, and they're both the top 2 leading rushers on that team. So, there's good things that come at Wheeler, even if it may not show. It's showing this year now.
And I found it interesting because last year when you checked out Wheeler, they were a pass-heavy team. But then with their quarterback graduating on, they went to a more run-heavy offense, and it's still working out for them. So either way, Wheeler can find different ways to beat you.
Yeah, they had the tools last year to do it through the air. Now they have the tools to do it on the ground, and they did do it on the ground against Calumet.
Exactly.
And I look more of that to come. They were averaging close to 230 yards a game rushing. So that's not too shabby there. So
a few more games to get through. It'll be New Prairie versus Penn. New Prairie, of course, had the coaching change. Penn has been the dominant powerhouse in the northern part of the state, but Penn has been having a hard time getting past Crown Point these last few years in regional and then a sectional.
Yeah, they have. It's looking more and more like that matchup that's going to happen in sectional is probably going to be a top 5 matchup.
Yes.
In the state. So that'll be a good test for whoever ends up, having the home field advantage for that one.
And then Bremen versus Knox, where Miles McLaughlin is the all-time scorer in Indiana history, but he's still going for that rushing yards mark, but he still has a long way to go.
Yeah, he's sitting at right around, 9,400 career yards, 9,400.
I'll say that's pretty good.
Career yards. Yes, that's excellent. He's second all-time on the rushing leaders list, behind a New Palestine running back, and he's sitting at 10,800 and change. So, you're looking at possibly sectional championship or sectional semifinals where he has the opportunity to break that record if Knox can make it that far.
Yeah, Knox got to find out some ways to win some games so that he can keep going for that record. North Judson, they're 6-1. They've had another great season. They're going to be on the road against Caston.
Yeah, North Judson, they're sitting top 5 in Class 2, 1A, I believe it is. Top 5 in Class 1A, and their only loss is to Knox at the beginning of the year.
Right.
So they should be rolling into playoffs also.
And then 3 more games: North Newton versus North White, South Newton versus Faith Christian, then Rensselaer Central versus River Forest. All 3 of those games are looking like they're going to be some pretty close matchups in conference play.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think South, just looking at records here, North White, North Newton's going to be a very good game. North Newton's 3-4, North White's 2-5. South Newton should be able to handle Faith Christian. Faith Christian's only got 1 single win on the season, and then 5-2 Rensselaer Central coming up to the region, but they're looking to roll against River Forest.
Well, I got to say, Matt, I'm excited that we're going to be hanging out here at the Athletic Performance Center and watching some really good football here in the region. We're going to have 4 games, as we talked about. We'll also have the RSN multicast, which is on YouTube. Or if you just want to hang out with me and Matt here on the RSN Zone, we'll be happy to have you. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back for the RSN Zone. This is Game Night in the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.